Me, the whole time I was thinking that with NHS Trust, when you're leaving, you don't have to pay any money. But your case was different.
The first one they brought was 5,000, which wasn't what I was supposed to pay. So I wrote back to the HR and told him, listen, this is not the money I'm supposed to pay, and I'm not going to pay that. She's had 2 job offers. One is asking her to pay 8,000 if she leaves within 3 years. Another is asking her to pay 5,000 if she's leaving within 3 years. So which one of them?
Hey!
And there are some companies that are now doing what we call the buyout contracts. So they can buy you out from your old employer.
And you haven't spoken to top journalists in the country about this. Is it legally right for employers to seek this amount?
Said it before.
Hey, stop that. So if you're in the UK, you've probably seen this popular newspaper, The Guardian. And a couple of months ago, they had an article talking about overseas nurses, and their main focus was the fact that some overseas nurses have to pay huge sums of money when they get to the UK and they want to leave the employer that brought them to the UK. And how some employers are taking advantage of this whole situation and then asking for huge sums of money from people. When I was reading the article, I saw a name that I'm familiar with. I saw Rebecca Ajiman. And this is my fellow Ghanaian YouTuber, overseas nurse content as well. Then I saw on her community page as well that she said she has been working behind the scenes with this popular journalist working for this big UK newspaper. And then they've been able to bring some of these things to light. When I read the article, some of the other people that had gone through this, ordeal, they did not mention their names. Their names were hidden. But Rebecca was bold. Her name, the number of kids she has, where she's from, everything was in the newspaper. And I was honestly so impressed that, we are bold, that you are bringing some of these things that overseas nurses have to go through to light. I was really, really proud of you. Today, I want you to introduce yourself, first of all, and tell us how this whole thing came about. How did you end up working with journalists that work for the Guardian newspaper in the UK? I really want to know.
Okay. So hi to all Nanel's fans. Hi. And thank you, Nanel, for having me on your channel. If you don't know me, I'm Becca. My full name is Rebecca Ajiman. I'm a registered nurse from Ghana in West Africa. And I've been in the UK for close to 2 years, just about 2 years. I was in the NHS as an endoscopy nurse, and then I moved to the care home in London. So currently I'm working in a nursing home in London.
And she's a YouTuber. She's a YouTuber.
Yeah.
I'll leave a link of her channel here so you can head over and then watch all the good videos she has.
So I'm a mom, I'm a YouTuber, I'm a Christian, and I'm a registered nurse. Okay, so somewhere around March, April, I just saw this year. I saw a message on my Instagram, and I'm not so much into Instagram, so I go there once in a while just to read messages and reply everything at a go, and then I just pop out. So I saw one of my messages on Instagram from this journalist asking me if I would like to be interviewed. So she mentioned her name, the newspaper, and what they've seen on my channel. They've been following my channel. That's what she apparently said, that they've been following my channel, and they were impressed about how I express myself and blah, blah, blah. So to be honest, I thought it was fraudulent because, a lot of people just come into our DMs, emails and everything, and they write a whole lot of things. I was like, no, this is not me. Nobody in the Guardian will come to me to ask me any question. So it's a lie. So I didn't respond. I left the message for days. And then I saw an email in my Gmail of this same person has emailed me. So I was like, really, this person looks a bit serious. So I read the email. It was the same contest in my Instagram that was in the email, that they've been following my channel and they've come across some of my videos and they've seen that I've changed jobs and I've done a video on that. So they want to talk about that because they were also apparently doing like a background study on this overseas nurses and this repayment clauses and everything. And they saw that I've done a video on that. And I talked about the fact that I paid some monies when I was also leaving my trust. So if I would like to be interviewed, to be honest, I was very reluctant. I had to talk to a couple of people. I was like, you know what, this is what is happening. Should I get involved? And we're like, yeah, go ahead. Just express yourself because this is a first world country and you can express yourself. Moreover, safeguarding is everybody's business. So you can just say what you want to say. So anyway, they asked of my number and then I gave it to them. And then we started the process. So we first did an interview on phone, which was like an informal interview. about an hour. We spoke about everything, about myself, job, everything. And then after that, we did an official interview, which was the one we published on the newspaper. After the one we published on the newspaper, we did another podcast. That was it's like a live presentation where,
wow.
Yeah, so we did a podcast that has been out for like 6 weeks ago.
Can you send me the link?
Yeah, I will. So we did a podcast and we talked about, it's the same issue. And the reason why I volunteered to talk about this issue is not because of myself, but because of the fact that people are stuck in jobs that they are not happy with. Today, before I stepped out, I went to Central London. Just before I stepped out, a friend called me that somebody has emailed her. She's also a YouTuber. Someone has emailed her that she's had 2 job offers. One is asking her to pay 8,000 if she leaves within 3 years. Another is asking her to pay 5,000 if she's leaving within 3 years. So which one of them should she go for?
Hey!
And the question is, how long will it take you to make that £5,000?
Because I tell you, there are people that have been living in this country for 10 years and don't have £5,000 in their account.
They don't even have 1,000. Just 1,000, they don't have it.
I read the article. I think I've read it like twice, and before the interview, I went over again, and you really done well. Me, the whole time I was thinking that with NHS Trust, when you're leaving, you don't have to pay any money. But your case was different.
You have to
pay how much? 5,000?
Right. So with me, what happened was, because I had an idea of how much roughly I was going to pay. So when I did everything and I was ready to leave the job, I asked them to give me my bill so that I paid back the money to them. The first one they bought was 5,000, which wasn't what I was supposed to pay. I had done my calculation already. So there was a bone of contention. So I wrote back to the HR and told him, listen, this is not the money I'm supposed to pay, and I'm not going to pay that. You have to rectify it. So they retracted that letter back, did whatever they want to do, brought another bill, which was still more than what I was supposed to pay. And I told them, listen, this is not what I'm supposed to pay. Please review so, because I have receipts of everything. That was what I just told them. So they went for the 3rd time. Then they brought me my actual bill. So I paid £3,500, a little over £3,500.
Is it right? You have a whole video on your channel about what people should look out for in terms of job contracts. You have a whole video about it. And you haven't spoken to top journalists in the country about this. Is it legally right for employers to seek this amount?
It's not.
Really?
It's not. So in the podcast, that is an issue they are looking into. So in the podcast, we went a bit more detailed than what we discussed in the article we wrote. It is not, because looking at the fact, it looks like a modern day slavery. That's what I will call it. Because you've employed me to work. I went to school. You didn't sponsor my education. I sponsored myself to go to school. You brought me over to work for you. Obviously, when I came over, you've used me for a while. Even if it's for just 6 months, you've used my strength, you've used my energy to work for you. You've gained something from me. So even if I am leaving and you want me to pay something back, it shouldn't be the whole refund. So some of the trusts, what they do is that they tell you if you are leaving within 6 months, maybe you pay half or 3
like
quarters.
A sliding scale. They give you a sliding scale.
Yes, exactly. That's what some of the trusts do. But post-pandemic, I don't know what is happening. It's like they are just pushing big sums of money on people. So they'll tell you if you're leaving before 3 years, you have to pay like 8,000. So even if you're not,
this is coming from the trust. I'm really surprised. Yes, I'm really surprised. I was expecting that more from the private companies and the care homes. I'm really surprised. Yeah,
the private ones are even worse. But now the NHS trust. So my trust, that's what I won't mention the name of the trust, but that was what was happening. If you are leaving before 2 years, you pay the whole refund of whatever money they've spent on you.
Why did you want to leave?
It was a whole lot of reasons. I think I've shared this in a video I did. It was because of the fact that the salary was shocking. Me, I'm a business-minded person, so I value every penny. So the salary was one of the top reasons. Number 2 was environment, because I came to the UK not just because of the work and the money. I also came because of peace of mind and to be happy. I don't want to be in an environment where I'm not happy, where I'm not sound. So environment was one of the reasons. Just the area itself was too quiet. I didn't like it. So these are just the top 3 reasons why I left, coupled with other minor issues.
I know. In the article, you mentioned how you got the money, but for the sake of this video, how did you raise the 3,000 whatever to pay them back?
So when I came, God was so good to me. I started agency in my early stages when I came to UK, which was very tough for me, but I was happy to do agency. So when I had my
let me explain what agency is, because people keep asking me. So agency is sort of like, let's say you come to the UK and then you register with another company. When you come to the UK as a nurse or on a tier 2 visa, aside working for your employer, you're allowed to do about 20 hours a week. Although for NHS workers and doctors now, the 20 hours has been scraped off, but you can do like at least 20 hours a week for another company. So by agency, she means she registered with another healthcare company. So they post her to other facilities or other organizations when those places are short. And then that way she makes more money. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I had my PIN, just a month after I had my PIN, I started agency. That time they were in dire need of nurses. And ideally, when the NHS, you are supposed to have 6 months post-qualification experience before you can start agency. But I was fortunate. I told them I don't have the UK experience, but back home I've been a nurse for 8 years and blah, blah, blah. And I have my PIN. If only you would let me work, I'm happy to work. So that trust, it was also an NHS trust. They took me up, but the condition was that because it was in a pandemic, I was going to be working in a COVID ward. So if I was happy, so I said, okay, yes, I'm happy to work in a COVID ward. So that's how I started. So that agency made me blow up in no time. I had lots of money because at that time, there was no restriction on that 20 hours, whatever was not applying. So you could do as many hours as you wanted. So even if I have annual leave in my trust, I'll just use the whole of my annual leave. I'll book either a hotel or a room in the trust and then just go and sleep there and then work for them. So that's how I made that amount of money in a short time. And then also that contributed to one of the reasons why I left my trust. Because when I was doing agency, I realized that when you go to other trusts, the treatment they give you, the exposure you have, the respect they give you was not
what you were getting.
I didn't see that where I was working. That support wasn't there. Because even though I was agency, they gave me so much support and everything I needed to function as an agency nurse. But in my own trust, where I'm a permanent staff, I wasn't seeing much of that. So that was one of the reasons why I realized that I needed a change.
So now, the main reason for this video, I'm coming to the UK. Like this call your friend received. I'm desperate. I want to leave my country. And then now the job search is difficult. People are struggling. They are sending hundreds of applications. They are not getting a job offer. So you finally get an interview and they give you an offer and they're asking you to pay £8,000. Usually, because you are desperate and you suffer to get that one offer, as a human being, you're going to sign. What can you say about that? And what generally should I look out for before I sign a job contract?
One thing is, when you are going into a job, something like the work environment, you cannot predict it unless you've started the job and then you realize what kind of environment it is. I can't count the number of people that have DM'd me about their work environment, especially in the NHS. It is so shocking. People are going through a lot. But most of the times, because we are coming from overseas, we don't know what to expect and all those things. We just quickly sign the contract and then we come. And research has also shown that about 90% of people that come to the UK do not like their first jobs. So the possibility of you not liking your first job is very, very high because they're going to use you. You are not used to the system. You're not used to the kind of shifts. So you are going to be really stressed out. So one thing you should look up for is the kind of hours you are going to do, especially if you are in the care home. In the NHS, it's 37.5 contracted hours across board. But in the care home, we have the 36, we have the 40, 42, 48,
39.
And yeah. If you go and pick a 48-hour contract, it means you're going to be doing about 5 shifts per week, 5 long shifts. And if we talk about long shifts in the UK, it is no joke. Sometimes I said, if it's not for the fact that I like money, I wouldn't be working like this. But I like the money aspect. That's why we keep working like that. The shifts are so long and so stressful. So what people should be doing is that they should sign for lower hours, especially if you're in the care home. 36, 39, maximum of 40. At most, 42 is okay. If you feel like you come over and you have adjusted yourself to the system and you have more energy to work, any job you do is an overtime, which sometimes even attracts some enhancements for you. But don't go straight in for the long contracts, because once you come and you are not able to do those contracts, you start to break down and a whole lot of things. So number one is the kind of hours you are going to be doing. Number two is the repayment clause. Things you should be looking out for is the repayment clause. Because if you are going into a job where you can't predict what to expect, you don't know what's going to happen, there is a 90% possibility that you are not going to be happy in that job. Look at the repayment contract. What is the job saying? If you are going to be leaving at this time, how much are you going to be paying? All these things helped me when I was looking for my care home job. I was very vigilant and I opened my eyes very well. If you're going to be leaving, let's say in a year, how much are you going to be paying? Sit down and analyze. Is this something you are going to be able to pay? If you're going to be living in 2 years, how much are you going to be paying? Is this something you are going to be able to pay? Because £1,000, £2,000 is a lot of money. So sit down and analyze if it's something you can pay. Another thing is look at the job description itself. Is it a job that you feel you are going to be satisfied with? Is it a job you feel you are going to be happy with? These are the three key things. So the kind of hours you're going to do,
Contracted hours. Yeah.
the repayment clause, and then the job description. And then for those in the care home, look at the salary, because the care home job is hard. It's even harder in the NHS, to be honest. NHS job is harder than the care home. I don't know why care homes pay more than the NHS. But if it's the care home, you know that care homes pay differently, or the private companies, they have different pay rates. You can even bargain for your salary. I didn't know this until I finished changing my job and everything. So if there is a need for you to bargain for a salary, bargain for a salary, bargain for a higher bid of the salary, so that it is worth the job you're coming to do. And if you're happy with these things, then you can go ahead and sign a job contract. But if you are not happy with it, that doesn't mean you should die in the job. If you're not happy, for me, my happiness is paramount. Nothing matters to me. Once I'm happy to do my job. So if you're not happy to do your job, don't get stuck in it. Just find ways and means of paying off and then looking for a better job. The next job you're going to be doing, you are going with experience, you are going with much knowledge, your eyes are open, and you know what to look out for.
That's true. So we are saying that, let's say I come, obviously I didn't know what to expect, and I come and then I realize I know this is hell, I need to leave. And I have £8,000 to pay. You would always advise that I leave regardless. How do I raise the 8,000?
Well, raising 8,000 is going to be tough. It means you have to work hard.
Are there like agencies that can help me with the money, or NGOs, or will RCN help? Like, is there support for such cases?
Right. So what happens is there are some companies that are now doing what we call the buyout contracts. So they can buy you out from your old employer and then give it to a new employer. Then they will pay that money on your behalf. So there are companies like that. Just that is now a bit more difficult to get than it was. Yeah. As of last year, last 2 years, there were plenty of them. But now it's a bit difficult to get those companies. And I know a company like We Solutions is still doing that. They still do it. But with that, it's based on where you want to relocate to. Sometimes they even give you the relocation package. So they give you like £2,000. After they've bought your contract out, they can give you something to settle in your new environment. Wow. So there are companies that do that. Some may not also buy out your contract. They may not be able to pay that amount of money to your employer, but they can give you that relocation package of about £1,500 to £2,000 for you to sort yourself out in your first month when you join that company, especially in the private companies. I know they do that.
And that comes back to exactly what you were saying. If you were able to choose a lower contracted hours, you can do agency to raise the money quickly so that you can leave. Yeah.
So that's the advice. Always bargain for low contracted hours, so that even if you don't do agency and you are doing that same job, but you are working as overtime.
I'm thinking from the fact that it's not a place that you like, so you don't even want to do overtime there.
You can go out and do
agency. Go outside and do agency and raise the money, because that's likely to be higher. Raise the money and pay them more. Other than that, just be careful when you're signing a job contract.
Yes,
this has been very enlightening. Anything you'd like to add, Rebecca?
I'll just like to say that when you want to relocate into the UK, it's a lot of patience, it's a lot of diligence, it's a lot of hard work, but don't give up. Me, I had my certificate of sponsorship. I remember the first US I had it for over 6 months and it expired and I had to get another one. But I realized that whatever God does is good, because I think God was just preparing me. So once I came, everything was just fast paced for me. And I used that opportunity. That 6 months, I had already resigned my job back in Ghana. So I was just sitting at home 6 months without salary with 3 kids. But in all, it was a learning experience for me. I used that opportunity to read more about the system. So once I came in with full force. So don't just rush into anything just because you're desperate to travel or you want to just move into the first class country or whatever it is. Take your time. There are people who are still moving into the country without any repayment contracts. They are still having good jobs that do not have any repayment contracts. So just take your time, do your diligence search for the job properly, pray hard. If you get a job, you feel this is the one you want, you go for it. But don't rush into anything that you come into the country and you come and regret in the last minute.
Wow, well said. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you as well for having me. Bye.
Guys, I'll leave a link to Rebecca's channel in the description as well as the article and then the podcast she had, so that you can listen or read further about this. Okay. Thank you so much, Rebecca. And I'll leave a link to her YouTube channel as well on the screen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a good night. Bye.